friends and gamers. Welcome to the channel, where you observe strategy in action and China gets a little bit spanked by the Communist Party.
Yippee!
So, we're doing the Great Britain turn. This is turn 2, January 1936. And I thought I'd change up the format of how I play the turn. So, last time I made a little bit of a video going on about what happened that turn. I think I will save that for one weekly kind of video because that did not include USA as well as the KMT. So I think I'll lump those two together and make a separate video at the end of each turn that encompasses the whole turn, because they'll get bigger and broader, and a lot of the things I want to cover in there could be more private between me and the viewer without my competitors viewing it. So that's the intent behind these ones, that those videos will be a little bit more private. And so I'll just keep these videos to be strictly about the turn, about what we do and what my roles are and how much I win. Okay, let's take a look at the build chart. Okay, let me zoom out. There we go. So it's Great Britain's turn, and they have 11 bucks to spend. With that, they're going to do one tech roll. Well, the tech roll is free. You just need a major factory. And they purchase 4 militia and 1 infantry. So let's roll for the wartime economy. 8, so we succeed. All right. So I'm going to snag these ones up. We move up our wartime economy to the next position, which is stage 2, and we share that position with Japan. Okay, now we'll get down to the moves. So the moves for these guys are going to be a little interesting. Well, back and forth, a little bit all over the place. Transferring ships, coming up with different ways to balance out the increased German presence in the Atlantic. So what we'll do is we'll start off with this fleet. This fleet here in C-Zone 25, the torpedo boat destroyer, the destroyer itself, and the coastal defense ship all move to alongside the German cruise ship, right here, waving at the German young men on board. And this ship here, the light cruiser, well, okay, so we'll go in order. So they move to C-Zone 24. In C-Zone 25, which is still this one, the transport loads 2 infantry, these two, and comes and uses its strategic naval move to move 5 spaces. So that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going down to 4 into C-Zone 79, which is right here in C-Zone 79. And they drop off those in Gibraltar. So that's where that transport sits. In C-Zone 24, which is back up in the western approaches, we have 1 light cruiser. That light cruiser is going to swing down south here. It has a move of 3, which boosts up from the port, goes 4, so 1, 2, 3. It only needs 3 to get to this position. Okay, in C-Zone 79, which is here, we move this submarine up to the western approaches. In C-Zone 79, we're going to move a major amount of ships. I guess I'll move the camera a little bit. We're going to move a major amount of ships here. We're going to move this stack, so it's 3 destroyers, 1 battleship, and 2 heavy cruisers. Those ships come straight through to C-Zone, 81 off the coast of Alexandria. We'll zoom back to this position. In C-Zone 79, the transport goes up to the western approaches. It's in C-Zone 24, and the remaining ships here do nothing. So the remaining ships in C-Zone 79 do nothing. They stay in position. Okay, on this side, in C-Zone 83, which I'm going to count this as the British side at this point, because the Far East Command, it could be considered over there, but for right now, it doesn't really matter. The turn is within spitting distance of each other. So these ships go up to C-Zone 81. That's 1 battleship, 1 destroyer, 1 heavy cruiser, and 1 light carrier. I come to this position. Okay, and that makes up for all our moves. We take a quick glance down south here. We're going to span this distance here, and we're going to start placing our units on the board, because that is all of our combat, or all of our non-combat moves. So I'm going to place 1 militia in Eastern Egypt, 1 militia in South Africa. I'm going to place 1 infantry in South Africa. In Cyprus, I place another militia. And in India, where was that? Okay, one of these militia wasn't meant to be in South Africa, so I picked up one, so I only placed 1 infantry in South Africa, 1 militia in Eastern Egypt, one militia in Cyprus, and I'm going to place one militia in London itself and one militia in Scotland. That's where everything went. Okay, and that concludes the Great British turn. And now we'll move on to the FEC. So the FEC, we'll take a quick peek here. Although I don't need to go back and forth all the time. They have, there should be five, I have this backwards. They have $5 to spend, so they pick up these two dudes. So that's one militia, one infantry. Their turn is also quite simple because they don't have that many troops on the board yet. The Allies always start out fairly weak and looking like the poor man, and eventually they start picking up strength. So this coastal sub goes from sea zone 89 to 88. This transport goes from 122 to 87. And this infantry comes from South India to Calcutta. And now I place some units on the board. And so I'll place this fellow in Hong Kong. So one militia in Hong Kong and one infantry in Calcutta. And now for the Australians. So the Australians had $3 to spend. So I picked up their one infantry is what they produce. And I'm going to go down here. And so these ships here pick up the artillery and the infantry, and they come up north to New Guinea, where they drop off the infantry and the artillery to that position. And then we just simply produce one infantry at this factory here. And that concludes the Anzac turn. Now we move on to Canada, and Canada will have to take you to the big board again, because Canada's got a tech roll. So they have $3 to spend, and so I will roll for those $3. We're going for advanced submarine warfare, and we need a 7 to achieve. So most things are 7. 5, so we missed the advanced submarine warfare. They save their $3 and we'll carry it on to the next turn. I forgot to film what Canada does for its moves. So these two infantry here, they're specialized infantry. They're the Patricias and the Queen's Own Rifles. They get carried across 1, 2, 3 into sea zone 24 from sea zone 21. And they get dropped off in the British Midlands, right here. And this transport, I'm going to put it on escort convoy, and that is for its turn. It's just going to escort this route. And that concludes the Canadian turn. The place unit phase, they had nothing, so we move on to the French turn. The French Republic, January 1937. So the French have 7 IPPs to spend. They have 1 major factory, so they do 1 tech and wartime economy, and they have 1 anti-aircraft device. They're purchasing 1 anti-aircraft for $5. So I'm going to roll for them now. 10. So we succeed in wartime economy. Now we'll quickly take you to the board for their small turns, and we advance their wartime economy from, well, they're on stage 1 now. They just got onto the board at stage 1. So we'll carry us over here. So France itself does not have that many moves to do. We are simply going to do these ships here. They'll come up to sea zone 49 up here. So that amasses their entire fleet in that position. They are not going to do too many combat moves. No combat moves, of course, at all. But we are going to make a small moves in regards to. No, we'll just keep it as is. Except for this artillery, we're going to move up to the Maginot Line. Apart from that, everything stays as is. We will take a look here in sea zone 83, where they have 1 transport and 1 infantry. And so they can do what's called strategic naval move, so they can move 5 places. So fun fact is I can't actually carry an additional unit. It always has to be this 2, because I believe France has the strategic naval capacity that they have is 2. So this uses 1 point and this uses another point. So they go up to 5 spaces. We don't need 5 spaces, we need less than that. I believe we need 4, because we're going 1, 2, 3, 4 and dropping off here in southern France. And that's all that the French do. Lastly, we need to roll for the Ethiopians, because the Abyssinians get a recruitment roll. They need to roll a roll of 1. 1! Look at that. So I got some luck on my side, and I hadn't expected this. So I have the choice of 2 militia or 1 infantry. I think since we're so short of infantry, we're going to be placing a militia on the board instead. I'm sorry, since we're so short of hits, we're going to place a militia instead. So I don't have any militia of that color right now. So I'm going to do this for now. I know on camera that might look quite similar anyways. So that's 2 militia, and then later on I'll spray paint a piece and paint them the right color. So there's 2 militia and 2 infantry now in Abyssinia. It's still not sufficient to keep off the Italians. They have an armored car, an infantry, 2 fighters, and a tactical bomber. So they will likely still wipe me out. The only saving grace is the infantry is going to be rolling a 1, the cavalry is going to be rolling a 2, but these are still at max strength. So I'm still of a mind that our aircraft attacking into mountains should still be reduced in combat value. And I'm not just saying this because I'm going to be the defender in this circumstance. It just makes sense to me. It's like when you're attacking into mountains, first of all, you're up and down all these hills and mountains and such, so you can't always get a clear view of things. And also you can't get a clear approach to things as well. Additionally, there's so many cracks and nooks and crannies and quarries to hide into. It's not like attacking into like the Ukrainian plain where it's fairly open and broad. You're talking about mountains where it's crowded with rocks and all this obstructions. So for me it makes sense that everything should be knocked down 1 in value: shore bombardment, aircraft attacks, and land attacks. But that's just my personal opinion of what could be tweaked and fixed in the game to make things just a tad bit better. Anyways, that takes care of the turn, and you'll all see on the next one is on Panzer King's channel. It'll be the Italian turn, so it should be 2.5 if I remember correctly. 2.5 on Panzer King's channel within a day or 2. Within a day, likely. Okay, this is the French turn. Cheers.